Cardano got its massive Alonso update more than 2 months ago in mid-September 2021. Alonso is an extremely important checkpoint in Cardano's development. In this video, I'll cover some of the changes that happened as part of that update, what has happened since then, what we can expect next, and what the technical analysis tells us. If you want to learn more, stick around and please drop a like to support the channel. Alonso was a hard fork that was activated on the 12th of September 2021. The main feature that Alonso adds to the Cardano network is the ability to create dApps, or decentralized apps, through the integration of Plutus scripts, which opens up the Cardano blockchain for a whole variety of possible new uses. There are two new features in Alonso that I'm a really big fan of. To start with, transactions that call the smart contracts on Cardano will now require a collateral. That collateral should cover at least the cost of contract execution in case contract execution fails. On top of that, transaction validation will now have two phases, with the first one ensuring that the Plutus contract execution is deterministic and the second one actually executing it. Long story short, these changes should theoretically mean that the Plutus contracts will never fail due to the lack of gas like the Ethereum smart contracts. We all know that's a really big sticking point with Ethereum, and I'm happy to see that Cardano will fix that. Alonso is the final stage of the Goldwyn era for Cardano, which also added a multi-currency ledger so that developers are able to create new, natively supported tokens on Cardano, and also the ability for NFTs to be created on Cardano, in addition to everything else that I've just mentioned. Obviously, Goldwyn included a lot of other changes, tweaks and fixes, but these are the main ones in my opinion. Now, there's already been over 2 months since the release, and a lot of people want results and they want them fast. However, it takes time for the ecosystem to be built up. We can see that developers have already made progress. There were just over 2,200 time lock contracts on the 27th of September on the Cardano network. At the start of November, there was about 275 Plutus contracts and 15,500 time lock contracts. Only 3 weeks later, at the 27th of November, there were 776 active Plutus smart contracts and just over 19,200 time-locked contracts. Basically, the ball has started rolling with Cardano smart contracts. You can keep an eye on the stats at Vercel. I'll put the link in the description down below if you're interested. Also, a lot of notable projects like Cardax, the first decentralized exchange on Cardano, and Greed, which is a rewards token which redistributes Cardano's aid back to holders, already have time-locked contracts. So, what else has happened since the activation of Alonso? Well, Cardano's on-chain activity increased by 50% in October, and on the 1st of November, Cardano hit 2 million wallets for the first time. For the majority of November, Cardano's on-chain activity has also routinely outperformed Ethereum, hitting up to $21 billion on the 3rd of November. There are a lot of people who expect Cardano to eventually replace Ethereum, and this sort of on-chain activity shows that. However, new smart contract platforms like Solana and dApp platforms like Avalanche are threatening Cardano's future. Despite that, I couldn't find any on-chain activity data for those to compare with Cardano and Ethereum, which makes me think that they're still way behind if they don't even have this type of capability. But, of course, I could be wrong. The main thing here is that we can see that the Cardano network is going strong after the Alonso update and the end of the Goldwyn era, but obviously we need to keep an eye on its competitors. In terms of what's next for Cardano, it looks like the immediate follow-up to Alonso will be Babbage. Essentially, Babbage will clean up after Alonso, iron out any leftover issues, and set the scene for the next big era for Cardano, which is called Basho. Performance will be one of the areas targeted by Babbage, as some developers have raised performance issues since Alonso was activated. Another improvement is an update to the Plutus scripting language that will allow a higher transaction volume per block in addition to other features that the Cardano user base has been requesting for a while now. Then, when it comes to Basho, one of the major updates there will include the introduction of the Hydra solution. Hydra uses off-chain ledger siblings called heads, which can process native assets, NFTs and Cardano's Plutus scripting. Hydra is still in the early stages, but it is a very positive indicator of the Cardano platform's future roadmap progress. As I said, a lot of people think that Cardano has the potential to be bigger than Ethereum, and this makes sense after looking at what the Cardano network is currently trying to achieve. Cardano is currently faster and cheaper than Ethereum, but it still continues to improve. As we've seen, there continues to be a lot of work on Cardano, which is why it's important to keep an eye on the situation, keep an eye on Cardano's on-chain activity, the number of smart contracts, projects, decentralized apps, and so on, so that we get an idea of how the Cardano network is progressing. I would also recommend that you also keep an eye on the Cardano team's weekly updates, for which I will leave the link below if you're interested. Finally, let's do a quick technical analysis of Cardano. Volume has been down since the Alonso activation on the 12th of September. Since mid-September, Cardano first traded in a channel between $2.1 and $2.3, but came down during the small crypto flash crash at the end of October to $1.9. It was holding a steady resistance between $1.9 and $2, had a false breakout on the 9th of November, but then dropped again to $1.75. It recovered a bit, then dropped again to $1.6 on 24th of November, which establishes a clear bear trend for the coin. Right now, we need to keep an eye to see when exactly Cardano will find a bottom and start to consolidate. Basically, where the price will start to level off and move sideways. The current support level is around 1.5, which is a very established support level for Cardano, so it is likely that Cardano will hold it. But we will see what happens. Cardano's next support is around 1.35 and 1.45. And if Cardano breaks that, the next one is at around $1.05 to $1.1. Cardano is currently oversold and is trading below its 50-day, 100-day and 200-day moving averages. So, to me, it looks like the price will not be recovering in the next month or two. One of the reasons behind Cardano's drop was the activation of Bitcoin's Taproot update, which led to a sell-off, which is becoming typical for cryptocurrencies. A lot of people buy the rumor and sell the news. Then, most recently we had the news about the new COVID variant, which spooked investors again and caused another drop. Personally, I'm a big believer in Cardano, so I will just be buying a little bit of the dip over the next few weeks and wait for any price catalyst, perhaps some news around the Babbage or Basho update. Finally, if you are worried about prices dropping, it's good to remember why cryptocurrency is valuable in the first place. Like Charles Hoskinson says, the current financial system has some deep issues, and the best way to fix those issues right now is with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum and Cardano. There is a reason why the total market cap of all cryptocurrencies currently stands at around $2.5 trillion. That's almost the size of economies like India, France and the UK. If cryptocurrencies were a country, they would have the 8th highest GDP in the world. I don't know if that market cap is inflated right now, I doubt anyone can tell for certain, but what we can tell is that cryptocurrencies are here to stay, so just buckle up and enjoy the ride. If you want to trade Cardano, well, I personally use the Nexo platform, which allows you to earn interests on all of your fiat and crypto assets on there. If you have Cardano on Nexo, you will get a base 4% annual interest, which is paid out in Cardano on a daily basis, and you can boost that up to 8%. Plus, if you sign up right now and deposit at least $100, you will get a joining bonus of $25 paid in Bitcoin after a month. I will leave a link in the description below, make sure you check it out. Anyway, if you've got up to this point and you're still not familiar with the basics of Cardano, I would recommend you watch my other video on it here. That's my thoughts on Cardano so far. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If this is your first time here, please like, subscribe and share this with anyone who may find it interesting. Thank you for watching and I'll see you again soon.